Thank you and welcome to Understanding Social Media in China. My name is Layla and I am from Australian Business Consulting and Solutions. I'm joined here today by Sarah Cheng, who is our Manager of Greater China Region for Australian Business Consulting and Solutions. Just some housekeeping initially. If anybody has any technical issues throughout the presentation, you'll see a comment box on the left-hand side of your screen. If you just type a note and our technical team can help you with that. Throughout the presentation, you'll also, if you have got any questions, feel free to write it in the comment box as well, and we can come to answering those questions at the end of the presentation. We've allocated some time. So Australian Business Consulting and Solutions, we're really quite lucky in that we have a marketing agency and as well as an international trade division. So we've helped many a business engage with the China market, and through our marketing capability have helped many people with their social media. So the two of them join nicely today in today's presentation. Just to give you some background on myself, I look after the agency for Australian business, and I'm also the senior marketing consultant as well for the agency. So have had many years experience in helping businesses grow their business through their marketing initiatives. And Sarah Cheng, who joins me, is sitting on my left, will introduce herself at the moment as well and what her capability is as well.
Thank you, Leila. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Cheng, and I'm the manager for Greater China Region with Australian Business Consulting and Solutions. In the past 20 years, I have worked both in Australia and China in the field of international business, internal trade and internal business consulting. In the past 10 years with Australian Business Consulting and Solutions, I have worked with around 300 Australian companies and assisted them to enter and develop the market in China through our consulting services. Thank you. Okay, in the past 3 decades, since the economic liberation in China, China's urbanization, urban population has risen by over 500 million. By 2030, they will contain around 1 billion people, which is around 70% of China's total population. Along with this urbanization and fast economic growth in China in the past 3 decades, has come the biggest population of middle class in the world. Today, China has over 300 million people, 300 million middle class, and with significant spending power, with each estimated to have access to the financial assets of 1.3 million Chinese yuan, which is the equivalent to 240,000 Australian dollars.
Throughout today's presentation, we'll actually start to highlight some of the really big differences between the Australian market and the Chinese market. And one of the biggest differences to start off with is how the Chinese middle market has a really strong preference for novelty. So they will chase, I suppose, the latest and the greatest so that they've got it in the palms of their hands at all times. And where they're a little bit unique as well is that in Australia and in other, I suppose, Western markets, there's definitely, I suppose, that brand loyalty that we have. So everybody knows to buy tip-top bread because that's what Mum bought. And in the Chinese market, it's a little bit different. There is definitely an association with luxury brands and how that can be associated with status, but there definitely isn't emotional ties like what we experience here in Australia. So there is a little bit different with regards to brand loyalty in that sense.
Another feature of the Chinese luxury buyers is they are, in general, younger than their counterparts in the West countries. An estimated 45% of Chinese luxury consumers actually are aged 35 or below, while the average Chinese millionaires is only 37 years old compared to 56 in Australia. So they are early adopters of new technology and have embraced social and digital media.
And I think that's probably one of the most underestimated statements that we're going to say today in today's presentation. To say that the Chinese middle class have enthusiastically embraced digital and social media is a huge understatement. If we think about the statistics that exist in the market, they say that there's around about 1.2 billion people that participate in social media. About a third of those exist in China, so between 400 and 450 million users. So to think that 1/3 of the world's population comes from, of social media users comes from one country is massive. And it's not just that people have, logged onto one of these networks and decided, I'm going to join. They're actually really quite engaged with them, so the participation rates are huge as well. Around about 84% of these internet users in China actively participate in social media. So if it's by uploading video content or sharing a photo or by blogging on one of the micro-blogging sites, the engagement rates are massive.
Talk about digital media and the internet users in China. China currently has 680 million internet users and around 1.2 billion mobile subscribers, which means literally each Chinese has a mobile. Of course, it's not the case. Some mobile users have 2 or more mobiles. And actually, 81% internet users have access to internet through their mobiles. 70% use desktop to have access to internet. Of course, there's some overlaps, but as you can see, mobile has a high penetration rate in China, and lots of internet users actually use mobile, so which is a little bit different from other countries.
So if we then have a look at some of the ways that the Chinese market engage with online activities, what we've got listed on the left-hand side of the slide that you can see on your screen now is probably the hierarchy of the top 4 uses of online activities in China. So if we look at instant messaging, for example, there are 86% of online users engage with instant messaging. Then we move on to online news. That's used by about 80% of the market. Search engines are used by about 79% of the market, and then online music by about 73%. If we move to the right-hand side of your slide now, you'll see that there's a little bit of differences, I suppose, with regards to the fastest growing markets in China. So group buying, it has had an increase of 69%, travel booking 62%, online shopping 25%, and then online payment is had a growth of about 18%. And we'll explore that a little bit more detail further throughout the presentation today. So if we then move on to digital media, in Australia, most of us, I would assume, and most of you joining us today would probably use Google as your key go-to place whenever anybody asks you a question. In China, it's a little bit different. Their Google is Baidu. And Sarah's going to correct me if I ever pronounce any of these words incorrectly throughout today. One of the biggest questions that we get asked in the agency from our clients when it comes to marketing in digital platforms is, do I go the organic route and look at SEO, or should I pay for some advertising and go through the PPC or the AdWords route? When we answer that question to our clients, it really does depend on the type of business that they're in and who they're trying to engage with. In China, it's very, very different. Baidu, which is, as we've said, on the Google in China, they actually will promote to business or promote to the community that organic ads are a little bit unregulated. So the Chinese market has a greater trust in the pay-per-click or the AdWords type of advertising. There's also knowledge that there are rigorous processes that businesses have to go through to be able to participate in AdWords or PPC with Baidu. So there's a really strong sense of trust with those businesses that participate in PPC. One of the, I suppose, the really interesting things and where Baidu really gets behind their own initiatives is that if a business was to pay, or if you as a user of Baidu was to go and click on one of the advertisers and you were then to go to purchase or engage with that business and you lost money, Baidu will actually reimburse you for that loss. So it's really a little bit of a different game than what it is here in Australia and some other Western markets. It can be difficult for businesses in Australia to work directly with Baidu. It is recommended that you work through a Chinese office if you're lucky to have one. Otherwise, if you don't, you could always engage with a partner such as a China Search International, which is actually Baidu's certified partner here in Australia and also in the US, and they can guide you through a lot of the processes. When it comes to for any of those marketers out there, if you are coming to planning your marketing initiatives, ensure that you leave yourself enough time to be able to go through the forms and the process, because it can take many weeks. But if you do engage with the partner, they can help you navigate through that.
Talk about digital media and social media. So, Laila, would you like to share with us some platforms Chinese netizens use for their social interactions?
So I would imagine that a lot of us are really quite familiar with the three logos that are at the top of the slide, so Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and they're the social media platforms that we traditionally use here along with a couple of others. In China, they're pretty much non-existent, but they have their own versions of these social media channels. So I'm actually going to get Sarah here to pronounce the names of these businesses.
So the first one is Weibo, which is a microblog, and the other one is Qzone, and next is WeChat. WeChat is very popular. People talk a lot about Weixin. That is WeChat in Chinese. They call it Weixin. It's like a micro messaging type of, but yeah. Anyway, so that is WeChat. The other one is Renren, which sounds like people, person. Renren, that makes people, person. Anyway, the pronunciation is Renren.
And what we'll do in throughout this presentation, what we're going to move into next is actually going through each of those different platforms in a little bit more detail, so you have a deeper understanding of how you can use those to promote your business or to launch your organization in the Chinese market.
Okay, let's talk about Weibo first. Weibo is the Chinese word for microblog. It is one of the most popular sites in China, used by well over 30% of internet users in China, with a market penetration similar to that of Twitter in the States. It was launched by Sena.com in 2009 and currently it has over 556 million registered users, and about 100 million messages actually are posted every day on this Weibo.
So moving on to the next slide, we can have a bit of a look at the demographic or the types of people that use Weibo. 82% of those are born after 1980, and 80% of those have actually completed secondary education. So they're quite educated people. Typically live in the first or second tier cities in China and purchase about 54% of their goods and services in China. So really quite interesting. Moving on to looking at some of the differences between Weibo and Twitter, in particular, is actually the length of the actual communication. So, in other words, the number of characteristics. So, a number of characters, I should say. So, as we know here, a letter or a space is counted as a character, whereas in China, it could be a word is counted as a tag, as a character. So if we have a look at Dell, who is probably really quite have well-rounded social media marketing plans and those types of things. When they're promoting one of their promotions through their Twitter feed in the US, for example, I'm going to have to look down to read some lines out for you, but it will containing it to 140 characters. What they might say is something like, today's deal, get free Eco-Light sleeve with the purchase of any Dell outlet Inspiron Mini 10 or 10V notebook, and then they've got, you know, a link to Bitly, for example. That comes in as a total of 136 characters, which essentially eats up all of the character limit through Twitter.
But if that is written in Chinese, it will be much shorter, and actually you can have more messages in 140 characters. Because Chinese characters, each character, in most cases, 1 or 2 characters in Chinese is a word, and it contains more information than an English word. So the same message in Chinese could be much shorter.
And they actually then have the opportunity to write a lot more. So what Dell has actually done, this as an example, in their China version of their Twitter feed, you've been able to say, Dell's National Day sale runs from September 11th to October 8th. To celebrate the 60th anniversary with the motherland, Dell Home Computers is offering 6 cool gifts and deals on 10 computer models. These exciting offers will run non-stop for 4 weeks. Also, get a free upgrade to color casing and a 512 megabyte independent graphics card, as well as other service upgrades. All offers are on a first-come, first-served basis. What are you waiting for? Act now. Completely different message than what we were getting through the, you know, the US 136 character kind of messaging.
Yeah, actually, even with the message of this lines, 114 characters, and if that is in Chinese, do you still see enough space for you to, say, put a web page link? In other words, like 114 characters in English, whatever it means, and it can, or if we say, okay, if we put it in 114 Chinese characters, the information content can be translated into 434 English word, well beyond the text limit of a tweet English. So this language efficiency actually turns in microblogging or Weibo in China into a more blog-like platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the other big differences as well is with regards to the, I suppose, the way that these two social media platforms engage. So Twitter, for example, one of their 10 core values is based on simplicity, whereas Weibo is very much about enrichment and making sure as a user you're getting the most out of that. So because it's a parent company is, as Sarah previously mentioned, Sina, you're then able to integrate other services such as email and apps and games, so it's much more enriched experience for the user.
Yeah, exactly. Because of that, and Weibo actually is more than a traditional social network. Another feature of Weibo is Weibo actually is, as I mentioned before, it's a macro blogging site which encourage both comments and retweets. For example, posts like who has a dog at home may have thousands of retweets and comments on Weibo, but that's inconceivable on Twitter, which keeps it to reply or retweet. The commenting on Weibo feels a bit like Twitter merged with Facebook. The comments to a post can be shown as a list right below the post. So the commenter can also see and can choose whether to repost the comment, code the whole original post to the commenter's own page.
So for me, what that really tells me is that Weibo has developed a much more social system. With Twitter, as we know, it's more driven by news and trending stories, whereas Weibo, it's much more enriched, like we said earlier. So you're then able to add in emoticons, which we all love, and attach your own image or a music or a video file in every post. So it's adding those different layers.
Exactly. Twitter has developed an advertising model which selectively recommends advertisement where they are most likely to be interesting. Well, Weibo has a quite different approach to this. To monetization, Weibo has developed the idea of KOLs, which is key opinion leaders, who have millions of followers. They are the internet influencers. So these cards actually put information or posts about the products or brands that they have used, and they put comments. That is a kind of advertisement, soft advertisement. But also because, of course, actually Weibo found it's difficult for them to put their ads because lots of people will follow calls, the key opinion leaders, rather than ads on Weibo. And also, the engineers of Twitter think that banner advertisement on Weibo will harm customer experiences. So if you are looking at to use Weibo to broadcast or promote your products and services in China, consider leveraging costs or key opinion leaders rather than just purely advertisement on Weibo.
And Weibo have actually taken a really quite interesting approach to, I suppose, generating revenue off their platform. And one of the it's actually really pretty cool. What they've done is they've designed a new program called WeChat Medium. And so what they've done is they've approached about 1,000 individuals across 23 different categories, but there's a criteria. So if you've got more than 1.5 million monthly views, but your total number of fans are below 5 million, then you can apply to be a part of this WeChat Media program. There's a couple of different benefits of participating in the program. So if you are a participant, then you'll have optimized display of articles, and you can also write longer posts, which is really quite beneficial. But where it gets really, really exciting, so if we've all walked down the street and we've seen a busker playing, and he might be singing or painting something, or playing the guitar. And if we really like it, we might, put $1 or, if we're generous, a note in their little bucket or in their little hat. Then you essentially get to do the same thing with WeChat Media. So if you like what a person has written or their post or their content, then you can essentially tip them for that.
And on Weibo, they call it 大声. 大声 means loud, so you kind of applause loudly. Just to give them a tip, so it's a tipping, that means tipping in English, but anyway, on Weibo they call it 大声. Finally, it is fairly common for celebrities to receive payments for endorsing products where their Weibo accounts, and it is reported that can be up to 1 million Chinese yuan, which is equivalent to 180,000 Australian dollars per post. That is cost per post. Money. Not bad money at all. Probably we have a look at a case study of how companies, especially foreign companies, leverage Weibo to promote their products. The Italian luxury fashion brand Fendi actually recently launched a marketing campaign using Weibo. Fendi, what they do is they play with colors, featuring the latest handbag collection called Crayons, and they put this on their Weibo. And Fendi asked the Weibo users to vote for their favorite color in the collection, whereas brand's Weibo page, so they kind of attract lots of visits to the web page, Weibo page. The campaign encouraged the brand's followers to forward the campaign to their friends and to vote. So it's kind of like interesting process. Fendi's fashion is kind of something interesting for to get their followers and users to get involved. But actually through this forwarding and voting process, they attract more audience and extended audience and potential customers through their Weibo web page to increase the traffic and promote the brand. So at the end of the campaign, Fendi will give 4 participants Fendi handbag from the new collection, and according to Fashion Bee, a digital marketing optimization company, the post that asks followers their favorite color from the latest Fendi collection has generated 3,840 reposts and around 1,500 comments in 1 week, very short time. Another post during the campaign highlighted the color blue and generated over 200 reposts and 66 comments in the shortest time. And then with that, they reach over 884,000 Weibo users. So that is very standard, the typical case of how companies can use their kind of limited followers of their Weibo account and extend to the broader audience.
And it's huge. And for me, as a marketer, where it really highlights is that Western brands really do need to have a presence on Weibo to be able to, I suppose, launch their brand in the country. And the results have really been quite staggering. So since Fendi launched this on the 2nd of August, their brand's activity has increased by 44%. Now, if I could hold my hand on my heart and say that I did that for one of our marketing campaigns, I'd be extremely happy with myself. But what they've also started to see is that the amount of activity in terms of reposts has increased as well. So, and it's increased by 536%. So not 2%, not 3%, 536%, which is massive, which that really then equates to over 4,500 reposts. It is huge, especially considering that has happened over a 3-week period, which is not long at all. Fendi's followers then increased by 7,301 in that 3-week period as well, which was an increase of 255%, so massive numbers as well there. What they've then found is that the active number of followers was then also up by 550% as well. So these aren't small numbers that we're playing with here. They're the huge figures, and it really is thanks to their, I suppose, their participation with Weibo. Moving on to a different or the next social media platform, for those of you who are unaware, Tencent is one of China's largest and most used internet service portals. And what they decided was, okay, Weibo is doing all of these fabulous things, and what we need to do then is to come up with a more competitive platform. And so they then developed Qzone. And what they wanted to do then was to add additional functionality to Qzone that didn't exist with Weibo at that period of time. So they've added in things like games and music, and you could also tag those audio files as well, photo sharing, video uploads, the whole kit and caboodle. And one thing that really helped with Qzone's penetration in the Chinese market as well was they were really quite early adopters of the mobile app as well. Thinking back to what Sarah was telling us earlier on with the mobile penetration in the Chinese market, in early 2010, Qzone decided to release an app. Now, I don't know about any of you out there, but I know for myself, whenever I go to upload a photo onto anything, I need to go, and especially if it's a photo of myself, I need to go put it through a filter, make myself look all lovely and pretty, or the flower that I'm taking the photo of look really quite lovely. And then, we do that in one app, and then we come back to another app and we post that up onto, whatever that microblogging site. The really cool thing about Qzone was that you could do that all in the one place. So it reduced that friction to post, because we weren't then having to go in and out of different apps and try different things to be able to get that one pretty picture of myself, really. And what's really, really cool then about Qzone in that short period of time, it now has almost 500 million active monthly users logging in via smart device. So if we think about the fact that they have 645 million active monthly users, it's a huge number of people that are using a smart device when they're engaging with Qzone.
Yeah, and if you're targeting young audience in China, Qzone is especially efficient because Qzone is most popular among younger social groups in China. And Qzone pages are full of colors, videos, audio clips, images, apps. It's just so fancy and cool, which is in a way kind of similar to MySpace page, but just Qzone does much, much better.
Yeah.
Also, Tencent plays well in this space, staying on top of the needs of and wants of its young audience. Actually, Tencent's own workforce are quite young. Their staff's average age is 26 only, so their staff fully understand their target audience. Another great product of Tencent is WeChat, or Weixin in English, in Chinese, Weixin, which means micro messaging. So that is exactly what it was initially developed as an instant mobile messaging app. And I would say WeChat is the current big thing. It will be the next big thing in the next couple of years. WeChat was launched only a couple of years ago, but today it has over 600 million users. And among them, over 438 million users are active monthly users. Pretty much now, you talk to every Chinese, even not just young people, but even old people, they use WeChat to communicate with people. WeChat put lots of people in touch with their previous contacts. We talk about like 人人, the campus things and campus social media, online media. And actually now WeChat is replacing that with its circles or groups, mobile circles and mobile groups. So if you so what WeChat currently is more like a combination of Facebook, mobile Facebook, and Skype. And LinkedIn as well. So you can follow someone, you can follow some circles, you can join groups, you can put up your posts, and even you can communicate and have video call and call with people in another country. Actually, I just came back from China yesterday and spending a whole week in China setting up our offices and talking with people. But also I need to communicate regularly with my colleagues back in Sydney, and what we did is rather than I made international phone calls, I used video call to when I had Wi-Fi access in the hotel room or pretty much like in lots of public spaces like in restaurants, in hotels, you have Wi-Fi in China, you have access to Wi-Fi. So I use WeChat wherever I have access to Wi-Fi and use that video conference function on WeChat to communicate with people. And also WeChat has the groups, like interest groups that you join in, and there are another like type of calls or key opinion leaders. Then you follow, and they are quite influential, and in a way kind of direct people to buy products or direct people to think some things in a brand in a certain way. So WeChat is really the current biggest thing in China.
And Sarah's not joking that she I literally landed yesterday. I think she's not even been back in the country for 24 hours yet, so we're very lucky to have her with us here today. One of the other really cool things that you can do with WeChat, and I suppose it's again one of those really key differences between the Chinese market and the Australian market. In China, people don't necessarily use credit cards. It's really not the way that they purchase overseas in China. So WeChat is actually able to facilitate online shopping, but most importantly, online payment. So one of the really cool things is that you can actually link the app with your bank account, and then WeChat acts as the facilitator or the payment gateway, so that you can cruise along down the street and buy coffee or pay for a taxi, and those types of things. What the new version that's coming up of WeChat is going to enable you to do, and it's mostly because Tencent actually bought a share in an oil refinery or an oil company, is that you're actually going to be able to pay for your petrol as well. So if you have forgotten your credit card, or as a traditional Chinese buyer, you don't have a credit card, you don't need it. You can just make your purchases through WeChat. One of the other really cool things as well is that WeChat has really helped Apple's app sales in China, because if you think about it here, whenever we go into the app store, we want to download something or we have to purchase an app, we use our credit card because it's not the way that the Chinese market behave. They then use WeChat. So Apple are extremely grateful to WeChat in China, I would imagine.
Okay, another social media is 人人, which in Chinese means people or person. So 人人 also known as a 人人 network, literally means like if by meaning it's kind of like everyone's website or people's website, and it's most popular referred to as China's Facebook. So it was launched in December 2005, not long behind its Western equivalent, and it was called 校外 initially, which means on campus in Chinese, and was unique to only a few universities initially. Its launch actually came 7 years after China's most popular online internet service portal, Tencent. Xiaowai was founded by Joseph Chen, who was a graduate of the University of Delaware, Stanford U Business School, and MIT in the States, which is possibly where the Facebook references and influence comes into play. The platform was renamed Renren in 2009. At the same time as it was opened up to use by everyone. This year, Renren reported having 206 million active users as compared to Facebook's 1.1 billion active users. Unlike Facebook, however, Renren is actually losing rather than gaining people due to its being perceived as lacking in the authenticity and the transparency of Facebook. Just as I said by some critics. Also, people say it really lacks that kind of appeal to young Chinese. A common criticism is paid-for extras, such as plugins and unique profile pages, and that games on Renren are merely an advertising ploy. So many of its users actually have moved across to Weixin, to Weibo, and WeChat, especially in the past 2 years. More people are moving to WeChat rather than stay with Renren. But they still have like a Renren account to be kind of connected with their schoolmates. But more and more people are starting to set up like schoolmates circles on WeChat. So Renren is kind of losing its influence in the Chinese market. I would say at this stage, if you're targeting the young audience, especially university students, Renren could be one of the channel, but you can't just rely on this one channel to market it to that target market segment.
Absolutely. Moving on to some professional networks with social media. So here in Australia, we're really used to LinkedIn. I suppose it's the leader in business professional networks. It's actually existed in China for quite a few years, but they didn't have that great a success rate until they actually launched the Chinese version of LinkedIn earlier in this year. I think it was in February of this year. So when they did that, they doubled their usage to about 5 million users. For us, that might sound huge, but their competition, so Sarah, if you can pronounce it for me.
Okay. 大捷, WeLink, and Tianji.
Much better than what I could have. They've actually got huge followers. So what LinkedIn had to do was think about different ways that they could engage the audiences. One of their CEO's, I suppose, strategic initiatives for this year is really going to be about mobile, especially due to the high use of mobile. So what they're going to do is focus quite particularly on mobile, and are even considering to develop a mobile app for LinkedIn in China. One of the cool things, because I think LinkedIn are quite aware of their surroundings in the China market, is that they know that they have to differentiate themselves to their competitors, Daiji, WeLink, and Tianji. And one of the things that they've decided to do was actually integrate their service with WeChat. So what you can do is actually take your WeChat profile and incorporate it with your LinkedIn profile and vice versa. And where that's really nice is that it actually integrates with the way that people are starting to work with WeChat at the moment. So WeChat at the moment is actually being used as a bit of a business meetup facilitator already. So it's nice that they've integrated that and actually paid attention to their target market. Going back to, I suppose, the number of users that are using LinkedIn, as we've said, it was about 5 million users at the moment. That are participating with LinkedIn in the China market. Daiji has about 27 million members. WeLink has about 20 million members, and Taiji has about 14 million members. So although superficially it seems that LinkedIn are doing a great job with their 5 million users, they really do have, I suppose, a long road ahead of them. But I think that their integration with WeChat is really going to assist them in differentiating their offering to the Chinese market.
China actually is the social media sector is quite unique in a way that Chinese social media users are big on creating content. As we have already said, they are also much more likely to give feedbacks online for products and the services they have received. Actually, 75% of internet users in China have provided a direct review for product, services, or experience at least once in the last year. But up to 90% of Chinese online shoppers have commented on an experience using social media in comparison to 25%, close to 25% in Australia. As well as giving reviews, Chinese netizens also read those reviews and comments, online reviews and comments, before they make any purchasing decisions. A whopping 300 million write reviews before making a decision, online purchasing decision last year. This has led to a phenomenon called astroturfing. Astroturfing is when individuals are paid. I would just say it again. People are paid to go online and then leave either positive or negative comments or reviews on the products or services they have used or they have never used. Anyway, so they are paid to do so. And reportedly, there are over 2 million people employed in this activity in China. The average mass astroturfy can expect around, say, equivalent to Australian dollars, that is not dollars, but 7 Australian cents per review on average. So people are paid this amount. Not many, very, very minimal, but they make lots of comments. And celebrities and key opinion leaders are rumored to receive significant payment for bashing or praising of a particular product or brand.
7 cents by 300 million will probably add up to be a nice lump sum of money. I should have brought my calculator with me. But moving on to the next slide, if we have a look at what we've got in front of us, where you'll see how China is really actually starting to embrace or what they're doing with the social media network and platforms in their country. For me, again, as a marketer, it's really, really exciting to see what the potential is for the Australian market. I think a lot of the times we look at, how it is that as Australian businesses we can start to enter into China. But even on the flip side of that, if we look at, how we can learn from how China is engaging in social media and the things that they're doing, and potentially, fingers crossed, what's going to start coming to the Australian market, it really is quite interesting. So if we even have a look at the third column across, for example, so the number of people that have commented on an experience in China, it's about 91% of social media participants comment on things. The global average is 38%. So it's huge differences. The way the Chinese market is engaging and they're using social media is completely different to the way the rest of the world is engaging. Even if you have a look at the number of people who have actually bought a product, 86% of the Chinese market have bought a product through social media, whereas if we look at the US, for example, it's 29%, or 48% as the global average. So huge differences. Where it's really exciting is then what the potential is for your business and what it is that you could do to start to engage in China, and how you can start to think of really quite innovative ways of marketing your business in the Chinese market, and how you can leverage social media, which is still relatively inexpensive in China, like what it is here, to really start to, I suppose, to boost your sales and your brand awareness in the Chinese market. So very, very exciting stuff here. What we'll do now is take some participant questions. So when you registered to the webinar, you would have had an opportunity to ask some questions. We've got a couple of those questions here with us now, but if you do have questions, please feel free to add them in to the comment box on the left-hand side of your screen, and we will get to as many as we can in the next kind of 15 minutes. So the first question off the rank comes from Suzanne. And Suzanne has asked us, how would we best advise starting out with social media in China, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. It's a big question. It's a good question. How to start using social media in China? So depending on your industry sector and your model, if you're looking at to sell directly in China, or maybe also I picked another question which is kind of in a way similar, or you are not selling directly in China but shipping your products to from Australia to China, then the model is different. If you're thinking to ship your product from Australia to China and selling through B2C channel, and the social media can help you to market your products in China, even you don't sell it directly in China, but from Australia to China. So you may have, like, say...
Does the Chinese market like to purchase from overseas companies as well, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So you may have, say, a website hosted on the third parties or service providers in China, China's someone else's website, but also you have the WeChat group. You can actually set up a WeChat group to promote your product, and that WeChat group we do need to recruit key opinion leaders and then who can then attract followers and traffic and visitors to and join people, get people to join your WeChat group, and then in that case then you kind of share some interesting product information about your products, but should be more beyond your products, like the industry knowledge, product knowledge. For example, if you're in the skincare industry, you may share knowledge about skincare, and then on your WeChat circle, and people can forward it to their friends, share it on their WeChat account, then you can reach broad audience. But also you need to, in a way, to link that back to your Chinese or English website here in Australia, or the Chinese website in China. If you're looking at the model from you're selling from Australia to South China, then you can have like a Chinese website hosted in Australia with some payment arrangement. Then so people in China can pay with their international credit card or Chinese credit card, and then you ship it from Australia. So basically, you attract those people to your website through this WeChat group, your WeChat account. So that is one way. Of course, there are some other ways. For example, you have your Weibo account, which is like kind of like Facebook or microblog web page that can be used as your China landing page for your potential customers. So there are lots of ways. So actually, we are happy to explore and discuss with you. If I'm happy to take this course if you want to further discuss this with us and to look at your specific products and see how to work on this. But there are so many different models and ways to do this.
So I hope that answers your question, Suzanne. The next question is from Kylie, who asks, with regards to WeChat and Weibo, how can Australian businesses use these mediums?
Yeah, I think we covered part of that in my previous answers. Now companies can more kind of use Weibo, which is a microblog, as their China's macro web page. If you don't want to have a Chinese website, then you use that as your macro website. And then you use WeChat as your marketing tool to attract visitors to your WeChat account, and through that WeChat account, direct those people to your Weibo or your Chinese or English web page or your Chinese distributor's web page. So WeChat is more like a marketing tool, while Weibo is more like a macro website.
Excellent. Hope that helps, Kylie. Vivian asks, would like some information about purchasing on Chinese social media.
Yeah, so social media, we talk about like Weibo, WeChat, but also Baidu and Renren. So now Baidu has agents globally, so you can either work with their like Baidu partners in Australia or in China directly. I think the issue is they understand their products, but they probably won't be. They probably do not know your business that well or develop the best strategy for you. And then WeChat, you can set up a WeChat account. Actually, you can download for free and then set up a WeChat account. But a free account, you can only have up to 100 participants or participants in your circle. So you do need to set up a commercial account. Then that depends on what kind of account you want to set up. So WeChat does charge a fee. And then that needs to be arranged through a company in China. through companies or agents in China. Weibo, you can set up a Weibo account. Ideally, you need a partner in China or Australia to do that, because Weibo, to maximize benefit of using Weibo as your web page, you need to have a Chinese Weibo, and that needs to be updated and maintained on a daily basis to keep it alive and evolving and involve your potential customers. So I think the best idea for all Australian companies is not work on this on your own, but to have agencies or partners in Australia or China to work with you on this. And before that, you need to look at your overall social media strategy. We're happy to work with you on that. Leila and I, we both can assist you. Leila will more focus on marketing side. I will work with you on the China and the strategy. And then we can find you partners in China to implement your strategy as well.
Absolutely, and I think it really is one of those things, and I hope that answers your question, Kylie, that you really do need to go into this with a plan. There's always that famous saying, if you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail, and I think with China, it really is one of those things that, there's nothing truer has ever been said. Because the market works in such a different way to the way it does here in Australia, you really do need to understand who it is that you're targeting and the best way to communicate with them. I mean, Sarah's just shared some really interesting insights as to the types of platforms that you can use and how you can use those, but you need to have a really quite deeper understanding of those mechanisms to be able to facilitate that. One other question we had from Juan, he asks what is the best way to protect Australian businesses from copying by a Chinese competitor?
Well, this is a really broad question. It's
broad.
IP infringement, do you mean that? And so if we kind of on a broader sense, lots of companies will say, okay, I want to protect my products and make sure it is not copied in China. Of course, you can always have legal procedures to be proactive, register your trademark, register your patent. But I would say it's never enough. It's never, you have to have both legal system to protect your products through all this registration, but also commercial arrangement to protect your products. For example, you identify the right business partner in China. They work on your behalf because that is also in their interest to protect your product and to make sure that it's not copied. And the other way is to keep innovating, so you're also always ahead of the market, and then that is your marketing claim, that is your brand's unique selling point. And then so even you have copiers, then you're always ahead of them. That is another model. And also probably in a way be relaxed because whoever buy your products, buy copiers' products, most of them won't be your target audience. So in China, people buy copy products, but still lots of people pay premium price to buy the genuine products. I think the key is to tell people, I think the key role for you is to take proactive measures like register your patent, register your trademark, have the right partner in China, but most importantly is to let people know which is the official genuine channel to buy your products. So even people want to buy copies products, that's fine, they buy it, and then you will have a way to handle that through legal systems, through other channels, but also at least direct people who want to buy genuine products to your official channel, either online, offline. If we narrow it down to, say, social media, I think that is very important through your social media, WeChat, Weibo. You need to have the official account. In China, there are so many accounts. Like, for example, if like a Sony TV, you may have like so many Sony TV.
It's even like that here in Australia on Instagram. You have, for different celebrities, there might be 55,000 Kim Kardashians, but there's only one real, official one, for example.
Yeah, exactly. You need to let people know this is official web page. This is the official Weibo account of your brand, and this is exclusive one. Don't just let anybody do it just because you think that can help you to reach more audience. That's not the best way. You have one official account on Weibo, you have one official account on WeChat, you have one official website in China. Let people know that it's only official China, or actually on WeChat you say, okay, our official website is this, our official Weibo account is that. Same, you put the information on your web page and Weibo account, so people know where to buy the genuine products, buy your products.
And I think as well, further to what we were saying, and I think we covered this a little bit earlier on in the presentation, the Chinese market are willing to pay for luxury because they do associate it with status. So if as a business you can demonstrate the benefit of your product, why it is the latest and the greatest, and how by purchasing your product they're going to increase their status rating in their social circles, then people are more than likely wanting to purchase the real deal. And I think that's not so dissimilar to the way it is in Australia. I'm sure we've walked down the street and seen a million imitation Louis Vuittons, but there's always, those few people that really do put value in knowing that they're carrying the real deal. So, it comes down to that audience and how well you market to them. So thank you for that question. We've got a couple of different questions that I'm going to kind of combine into one, and they're really about I suppose, communicating in English on some of the social media sites. So do we, A, have to communicate in Chinese when we're communicating on the social media sites? If we write in English, will they automatically translate it? Or
well, yeah. So ideally in Chinese, and it cannot be automatically translated into Chinese if you put it in English. So WeChat Weibo, if you put it in English, then that's English. That's what people see. Then that's English. So, and I don't think that's the best way to communicate with Chinese audience, because most of them cannot read English. So definitely, that is why I say it's very important to have either you have in-house Chinese Mandarin speakers, native speakers who can work with you on updating those information on your WeChat and Weibo in Chinese, in Mandarin or Cantonese. Yeah. Or alternatively, you have partners in Australia or China who can work with you on this. Of course, we can work with you on this as well. Yeah, definitely.
And I think a lot of the business chambers, for example, the New South Wales Business Chamber, they're able to offer translation services or connect you through to somebody. So I think it really is, if we think back to all of our university or TAFE days when we studied international business, it really is about communicating in an authentic manner to that target region, be it China or anywhere else, really.
Exactly. And I want to add one thing is not just the language, say just Chinese would be fine. You need to use the right language.
Absolutely.
I think that applies here as well. Like it's not just you put a post and then English and you hope like your audience will be interested. You need to put it in the right way, use your target audience language. And in some cases not necessarily use your target audience language, but use another language because you have kind of person specific kind of perception about what you should be, and then if you fit into that, if there's a positive perception and you fit that perception perfectly, that works better. So I think to fully understand the market, understand your target audience, and use Mandarin, use Chinese, but use it the most appropriate way, in a most appropriate way, then definitely that is,
yeah,
you have a better
absolutely.
chance.
And I think it also comes down to, when you if you do decide to use a translation service. I mean, we've come across where people have translated the literal meaning of a word, but you also need to look at translating the emotion or the sentiment behind that word as well. So I think when you're looking for a business partner, there's some things to kind of keep on your to-do list of questions to ask how it is that they translate as well. We've got a question from Nathan who asks about bricks and mortar actually having a shop in China versus online and social media, promoting your products through online and social media. Which way is best? Do you need to have an actual shop in China to succeed?
Not necessarily. Same as in Australia, we have all seen that physical retail outlets hasn't been doing well in the past couple of years with the kind of competition from the online channels. Same situation in China. Online market share has been growing up in the past couple of years. I think now online sales contribute around like 7 or 8% of China's total retail, which is a little bit higher than the percentage of online retail contribution in Australia to the total retail market here in Australia. So depending on the products, I would say the offline channel is kind of costly. Of course, you may have offline distributors in China, And then you have the online distributors. Usually you have to separate because now online sales are something very new, especially, I mean, not the traditional online, but it's like sales through social media. It's kind of new. So usually distributors, offline distributors, are not the one who can do good job to do this online marketing and sales. So you have to identify both offline distributors and online partners or agents or distributors to work on, so you can work on both channels. But it's not necessary that you have to have both channels. I would say if you're targeting young professionals, the middle class or certain age group, say 35, so say 30 to 35, 25 to 40, this age group, online media probably is much more effective for certain industry sectors and for that age group. Especially, for example, one of the projects that I did before is pet product. And then through our market research, we found actually the major pet owners in China are the young professionals, and these people, they seldom go to physical retail outlets. They buy online, they put comments, they see others' reviews and make sales, then they make purchasing decisions. So online actually is a better channel. And then we look at statistics. Online pet product sales contribute much more to this in this industry's total retail compared with offline sale. So really we need to look at the product and see what's the best channel. And I would say for most SMEs, it's very hard initially to cover both channels. Online channel might be a good entry point to test the market at minimal cost, but also to promote your brand then under your control rather than on a large scale and with lots of financial investment. And then to a certain degree, because China is geographically big and you have different distributors in different regions, so that just kind of like make it a little bit messy. So.
Excellent. It's one of those topics that I think Sarah excels at and could talk about all day if we let her go.
Yes,
but it's 1 o'clock, so we would like to sincerely thank each and every one of you for joining us on your lunch break. We hope you enjoyed your sandwiches or whatever it was that you're eating while you're listening to us. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to contact either Sarah or myself. I would be more than happy to speak to you about this in more detail. Just so you know, there's been a couple of questions with regards to the slides in the presentation. They will be available on our YouTube channel, so look up Australian Business Consulting and Solutions on YouTube, but we'll also be sending out all of the slides in an email in the next couple of days to make it easier for you. Once again, thank you for joining us. We hope you found the presentation beneficial, and there's just going to be a quick survey afterwards if you wouldn't mind completing, so we can, I suppose, tailor our content for you for the next time that Sarah and I join together. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.